Hey, Bunkin fans, it's Strickland, the other half of the Nice Guys on Business. Doug recently interviewed Steve Shevlin, founder and CEO of Emerging Global Services, and Steve has written an amazing report called 3 Steps to Staffing and Retaining a Winning Team, and you can get it free through a link in our show notes. Here is Doug and Steve talking a little bit more about it.
Tell me a little bit about the origin of Emerging Global and where you guys think that you've been successful when it comes to hiring and retaining people.
It's all about finding great talent. Having a successful company is all about tapping into great people.
Steve, where do you think that most people fall down on the job when it comes to not only retaining good people, but finding good people to begin with?
It has a lot to do with their own passion for their own business. And does that come through in an interview? You're interviewing them, but they're also interviewing you. They want to know, is this person passionate? I'm the owner of a company, so I'm going to be naturally excited and passionate about what I do.
So the information is in 3 Steps to Staffing and Retaining a Winning Team. And I found as I was reading the 3 steps that whether you're brick and mortar, digital, entrepreneur, or corporate leader, it actually fits into any environment. Why do you think that that is so?
Because in all those environments, you're dealing with people. And they all need to be managed. They all need to be motivated, developed, invested in. All of these things are true to every great company. Great organizations have great people behind it.
Steve, I want to ask you about 2 numbers. 1,257, which is the episode number that you're on the Nice Guys on Business. And secondly, 3, as in 3 steps to staffing and retaining a winning team. Where did you come up with the 3? And how do you know that these are like the tried and true 3?
I've been doing this for 30 plus years. And so it's a lot of sweat equity. It's a lot of hard knocks. It's a lot of work. And it is some reading and some education along the way. There's no doubt. Trial and error as well.
So check out episode 1257 on the Nice Guys on Business, where Steve and I have a conversation on everything that it takes to get and retain a quality staff. And then download his document, 3 Steps to Staffing and Retaining a Winning Team. Thanks for being here, Steve.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Nice Guys. I have a new strategy. Let the Wookiee win. Is that the smell of Old Spice aftershave, Old Bay crab seasoning, and old sweat socks? Must be time for the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
So get this, what would life be like if you didn't have a few badass friends? Now, I can check that off the list because today, that's exactly what I have and who is here. She's badass in multiple ways. First of all, she's got a podcast called Badass Direct Sales Mastery, and at 130 plus episodes, she's got her shit together, but still learning every day, kind of like us, even at 1,200 episodes. Secondly, she's got a badass coaching business that's tearing it up. And third, she's a badass trainer for Turnkey, always getting 5-star reviews from our launch clients as well. Let's connect all of those things today. Jennie Bellinger, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Doug. I wish I could pay you to just walk around and introduce me to everybody.
Well, first of all, my mom wrote that, so it's really good that she put that together. I talked to my accountant, and he said, look, next year you need to have some more deductions. So I put my mom on payroll. So now she's my 88-year-old is. While I can't quite credit her for putting this the intro together, it's her inspiration behind. Doug, you're a words of affirmation guy. You always have been your entire life. Even as a kid, we could get you to do far more with good words than we could like trying to say, hey, here's candy. You didn't care about the candy. You wanted the words.
Yeah. No, I when it comes to love languages, my number 1 is touch and my second one is words of affirmation. So I'm like, if you hug me and tell me how awesome I am, I will follow you around like a puppy for the rest of your life.
love those words. Yeah. Touch is not like gifts is my absolute last. I mean, I buy everything I want for myself, and I'm sure you probably do something similar, but I know I was thinking that your love language is like acts of service, because I know you like to do a lot of things with Marcel. You guys don't know who Marcel is, but Jennie, of course, knows who Marcel is. That's her man. And so, you get a lot of ball games together. You do a lot of stuff. But then again, quality time could be one of those for you as well.
Yeah, it's. I think quality time and acts of service are pretty close closely matched for me in terms of what other people can do for me. And then I try to figure out other people's love languages and do what they prefer instead of doing what I prefer. Because we also have our mutual friend, Virginia Muski. She, like you and me, gifts very last. So
Yep.
if I'm going to give her a gift, I know exactly what to give her. It's got to be practical, consumable, something that she doesn't have to dust or take care of. It's, or it's something that represents something that means a lot to her in her life. So like one of the most, you're going to laugh. The last 2 gifts I've given her have been a travel multi-outlet surge protector thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Very practical. She travels a lot, even in
Yep.
COVID. And then the previous thing I gave her before that was a sweatshirt that said Gigi Power because she's
she's a grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So,
nice.
love languages, guys, when it comes to podcasting.
God, if we're not all like words people, most podcasters do have words somewhere in their top, 2 or 3 for sure. Let's talk about podcasting though, because I'm really curious. Now you're 130 episodes in, and there's got to, or 130 plus, there's got to be so many lessons that you would have learned. So let's start at the very beginning. If you were to offer advice to someone that's just about to start podcasting, just about, I don't know, some tactical thing or some practical thing, what would it be?
Don't look at your numbers. Don't worry about the downloads, because unless you've got a massive email list already that's already super responsive in other areas of your business, those numbers are going to be really low, and they could keep you from continuing to do the thing that is going to be really impactful on your business. So down the line, trust me,
all right.
Podcasting is not a short-term thing. It's a marathon. You've got to be in it for the long haul.
All right. So I'm going to say something and you tell me what your knee-jerk response is to this. I'd much rather have 20 listeners that are engaged than 20,000 listeners that do jack shit.
100%. 100%.
Explain what that means, how you interpret what that means.
I would rather have 20 people. If all I got every week was 20 downloads, and those 20 people showed up to my webinars, those 20 people showed up to, buy my book, those 20 people showed up to check out do a complimentary coaching session with me, I would convert a lot of them if they've been listening week after week after week after week, because they've already told me that they like me, that they listen to me. So I'd much rather have those 20 people than 20,000 people who just are like, oh, that's great.
And
but
don't do anything, right?
They never do anything. They don't tell anybody that they listen. They don't do anything with it, right? Even if those 20 people didn't necessarily all buy my book, but they at least shared it out with they shared the podcast with other people on a regular basis. I take it, I may not know that they're doing it, except the fact that my podcast is growing.
Well, I keep saying, and I love to use this as kind of like the example here. We've trained our Nice Guys on Business listeners really well. We've trained them really well to do nothing. It's like we've trained them. Thousands of people listen to each and every episode, but it is a very challenging audience to get them to do anything. We're 1,200 plus episodes into it, and we probably spent 800 or 900 of those episodes not really getting them to do anything. Mm-hmm. But on the other side of it, I look at my Mustang podcast, and we'll take a simple call to action for a giveaway or a downloadable document or something, and we have 1,000 people that listen on any routine basis, and we'll get 200 to 300 opt-ins for that. It's a 20 to 30% opt-in rate. So I'm going to ask you about another quote other than the 20 versus 20,000. Downloading is a game of podcasting is a game of conversion. Mm-hmm. Explain what conversion is for you. What do you want to convert your audience to do? What do you want them to convert into?
Well, I would personally love to have them as clients, because that means that I'm helping them not just with what they're listening to on the podcast, but I'm able to individualize the information that I'm sharing with them that helps them grow faster, because the podcast might be hit or miss depending on who's listening and what they need and what's going on in their business, just based on who I happen to talk to. But when I can convert an audience member into a client, a coaching client, what I'm able to do then is really personalize those sessions to them. So it helps them grow faster. So while listening to the podcast is better than not listening to the podcast, in the end, I want them to, if they're a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for them, I would love for them to come on as a coaching client.
When I think back to one of our most successful campaigns, let's call it, through any of our podcasts, it's definitely our lead generator, our lead magnet, 5 Ways to Make Money Podcasting, which we turned into a mini course. It was a PDF originally, and we've gotten probably close to 1,000 downloads of that document over the last 2 or 3 years since we've been using it. What works for you when it comes to converting your audience from anonymous to known? They say, hey, here is what's their currency? Here is my email list and here's my email and my first name. What
Right.
works for you?
What I've started doing are various webinars based on what I know people in my industry, which is direct sales, network marketing, and multi-level marketing, areas of their webinars around their pain points, basically, so I'm not making enough money. I'm not sponsoring enough people on my team. My team won't do anything, webinars in those different pain points that are very common to 90% of people in direct sales and network marketing. I am now at the point when I put out a webinar, I'll get anywhere from 30 to 80 signups, opt-ins, and I've got, according to Spotify, I have 158 followers. According to my overall downloads per week, I probably have about 200 total subscribers.
Right.
And that's just me guessing because I don't know.
Right. We don't know. Nobody knows.
We really don't know.
Don't.
Right. But based between Spotify numbers and overall download numbers, I can guesstimate that I have about 200 regular followers. And so the fact that I've got 50 to 80 signing up to attend a webinar, and then out of those 50 to 80 who sign up, because I do record them and they can watch them later. I do have at the last couple that I've had 25 to 30 actually show up. So I've got a really great show up rate too.
Yep.
And then out of that, I'm converting 1 to 2 people as clients out of that, because then they set up a conversation with me based on what they learn, and they think that I can help them solve a problem, which I can, as long as they're willing
what's
to do
really
the work.
cool about what you're saying, and it sounds like, and help me fit your podcast into that entire journey that you just took me on with with prospects to customers. Where does your podcast fit into this? I always use the spoke and the hub analogy. If the podcast is a spoke on your wheel, it's not anywhere near as effective as it's the hub for your entire program, your entire marketing campaign, all of your business development and lead gen. Where does your podcast fit into your business?
This, I would say it is a way for me to reach new people. A lot of them at the same time. I would say the podcast probably fulfills about 20 to 25% of my overall business time, but that's all things considered.
Right.
Planning things out, planning out the webinars and planning all that stuff out. A majority of my clients still to this day come to me by referral, but enough of them are coming from my podcast now that in 2022, I'm doubling down on what I'm doing in podcasting to do more, reach more people through that avenue, because I'm using my referral partners now. I'm using my vast network to say, hey, can you share this with one person in network marketing that you know? Because if I could get everybody to share it with one person and 50% of those people became regular listeners who then, show up to something, it'd be huge, because I've got an enormous network. I mean, so for me, podcasting is really where I'm starting to go more into, because I'm getting more bang for my buck.
Yep.
In the time that I spend in podcasting versus the time I spend networking.
Well,
especially locally.
The nice part about podcasting is and part of the benefit of it, the reason I like it so much is because it is a relationship build, a marathon, not a sprint. I think you used that analogy a little bit earlier. I think that is really the way you're spending time building trust, although you don't know who those people are initially because they're anonymous right now. You spend your time building trust, and it is a long game. And the longer you've been in it, now you've seen the benefit of those 130 episodes. What do you say to the guy that's been doing it or the woman that's been doing it for literally 12 to 15 or 20 episodes and just says, this just isn't working for me?
If they're trying to convert audience members after 12 to 15 episodes, they're 100% right. If that's their goal, right?
Right.
When I got started, luckily because I started with you helping me get my podcast started, I didn't focus on converting my audience. I focused on converting my guests.
Yep.
I made sure I was inviting people to be on the show who were great potential guests. And then through that relationship building process of the pre-interview, the interview, and then post-interview process, I made money. I signed new clients before my podcast was even live on the air yet.
Yeah.
Nobody else had listened to anything. And I already had 2 new clients from the podcast.
How do you tell a client that's or a podcaster that's been in the game for literally 3 months that's saying it just isn't working for me? How do you tell them to just hang on, other than just use those words, just hang on? They feel like, this is a resource drain for those that have not reached whatever. And I want to talk about metrics in a moment, but those that haven't reached whatever level of success that they had in their head. As much as we bang into them the idea of this is a marathon, not a sprint, please don't look for results in 90 days unless you have a specific strategy in place already, like that guest to client strategy. It's very hard to convert an audience member in that short a period of time. What words do you say to them when they start saying, I just haven't seen any results from my show?
For me personally, I'd be asking him, well, what did you think was going to happen? I would want to know specifically. I would immediately go into coach mode. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm with you too.
You know what I mean?
Too. I do the same.
What were your expectations? Because then I can at least have an idea of, okay, well, if you thought you were going to make $1 million podcasting in your first 3 months, not so realistic. Can we reframe and make it more realistic? Right. Not that I've had anybody tell me $1 million, but no one thinks they're going to be Joe Rogan in the first 90 days. And if they do, God, I hope they have an audience. I hope they have an email list that's already 3 times larger than Joe Rogan's audience.
Right.
If they want to create that. But honestly, it's about digging in and finding out what that is. What is their process? Because I came at it initially from the guest to client strategy, but then I also started offering sponsorships, from the start before my podcast even launched. I just put it out there because I was like, you know what? I don't think anybody's going to do this, whatever. And, sure enough, a few people popped in and paid me. And I went, oh. That's kind of cool. It wasn't a lot of money because I honestly didn't think anybody would do it. So I made it really small.
Right.
But since I started, I have 4x'd how much a sponsorship is for me now.
Wow. That's great.
And there are fewer people that do it, but I don't need as many to do it because it's more money.
Well, let's talk about that too. Share with the community. I don't need exact numbers, but I share with the community the diversity of income that can come from your podcast. So it sounds like advertising and sponsorship can be one avenue. Clients can be another avenue. What other monetization avenues are you looking for?
Those are really the 2 main ones outside of now converting my audience, because I've got that as well. I've been directing people. I guess it's podcast related-ish, but not necessarily. But I've been directing people from day one. My outro tells people to go request to join my Facebook community, which is a paid community. So they can. That is a small investment. It's an initial $5 sign up fee and then $15 a month to stay part of that Facebook community. Yep. So it's not a ton of money, but as I grow my audience, I'm getting more people who are going and doing that and saying, well, I'll go put in $5 to try this out and see what it is. And they go into the community and they like what they're doing.
What I've heard, and you can maybe confirm this if this is true in your world, the leap from $0 ever paid to you to $1 is is a large leap, but from $1 to $1,500 is a very small leap. Once you get the trust enough to get that credit card out of their wallet, it's not hard to convert a larger client. Are you finding the same experience?
Yes, absolutely. Especially since I've been much more intelligent with my marketing in the past 6 months and the way that I'm going through and working with the people from my audience in the podcast, but then also working with those who have converted onto the Facebook community, and doing that as well. Oh, and then the other major money, I can't believe I left this off. The other major money maker that popped up for me last year were the virtual summits that I did that are co-branded with the podcast. So it's the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast, but then the Badass Direct Sales Mastery virtual summits that happened last year and I'm continuing to do this year, are huge because I made money from ticket sales. I made money from speaker sponsors. I made money from, I converted clients from that. And there were a lot of people who came to me from those summits because they were from the audience of the podcast. There were people who came to me from there who were from the audience of other podcasters that I invited to come speak on my summit. But that all came because I had the podcast. I wouldn't have necessarily done the summit if I didn't have the podcast.
You have a pretty unique role in what you do as a podcaster and business coach in that you get to, through your training position with Turnkey, you get to see a lot of people go through the process. And I know you've trained a bunch of people that we have brought on board over the last couple of years. So you get to see like the stuff that are their biggest fears and hesitations, because you're right in the mix. They've already committed now. Now they're already committed. So it's no longer, I'm scared I'm going to be sold into this program. It's now, oh shit, I'm in this program and now I got to figure out what to do. What are some of the biggest fears that people have when they get started with podcasting in the very early stages?
Ooh, some of them want to make sure they do it right. Is there a
right? I don't know that there is a right.
Exactly. And that's the conversation I have with them. I say, what's right is what you enjoy putting out there, right. What really turns you on and that you're passionate about as you're speaking about it. Because if I were to try and do a podcast around cats, I have cats. I'm not a cat lover. I'm not a whatever. It would not be the same podcast as someone who is the crazy cat lady from down the street who like buys clothes for her cat and all the treats and the toys and the what, you know what I mean? Those would be two very different podcasts. I'd be like, all right, y'all just feed it once a day and pet it every once in a while until it scratches you and says it's done. Whereas she'd be talking about how to take care of Mr. Winkles and all of that stuff. Those are two very different podcasts because of the level of passion behind it. Cats are there, You're
right. I am a fan of cats. I probably am a fan of cats the way you are, but I live with someone that is a cat fanatic and she loves cats. And JJ is totally into cats. I wouldn't call her a cat lady. There is nothing obsessive or crazy that she does, but she loves cats. I mean, it is a constant thought that is going through her head where I enjoy the cats and they're good companions. But it's like, okay, well, they're a pet. They're a life for some people and they're a pet for other people.
Yeah, exactly. So, so a portion of them, their biggest fear is doing it right? Because they've just invested money in this already from the get-go. And they want to make sure that they're doing everything the way it's supposed to be done in the order it's supposed to be done. And, but those are more process oriented people. Other people are just trying to figure out how the podcast is going to fit in with their business, how much time it's going to take, are they going to get results? How do we get the best results? Those kinds of things. Some of them, their biggest fear is getting the right title for their podcast, and they will hem and haw and back and forth about the right title. And, it sounds so much like this other one that I found on Apple Podcast. And is that going to be a problem? Different things like that. And walking them through that process. And it, in the end, it all comes down to, are you putting out a truly authentic product, right? From the title to the cover art to the content that you're putting in it. If it's fully authentic to who you are and the person you are, people will be attracted to it. And the best story that I tell, I can now share with our shared clients, is one that happened to me because I think I've been telling you this from day one, Doug. Anytime what I want to have happen when someone looks at the title of my podcast and the cover art, I want one of two reactions. I want them to start giggling and go, oh my God, I totally have to listen to this. Or I want them to be completely turned off and go, nope, that's not for me. Like, that's too edgy. That's too like, whoa, right?
Well, explain to those in our listening community, and I know we've talked about you a lot on our Nice Guys on Business show, but for the Turnkey community who may be being introduced to you for the first time right now, just walk through the visual of what your cover art is and how do you came up with that idea.
So again, reminding everybody, the title of the podcast is Badass Direct Sales Mastery, BDSM. I am the direct sales dom who helps women whip their business into shape. So it's all tongue in cheek. And my cover art is a picture of me in a corset with a very austere looking facial expression and holding a whip. So the whole thing is extremely tongue in cheek, meant to grab attention. And for people when they listen to go, oh, she's not actually some like super hard ass. She's just badass about it. And so that's really the point of all of that is really, I wanted to, number one, set myself apart from the 150, 200, 300 other direct sales, network marketing, and MLM podcasts that are out there. Because all of them what they all had in common were that most of them were middle-aged white women, except for those that were men, right? But the ones that were female had one of two things going on their podcast cover art. And that was that they were dressed like a soccer mom, which anybody who knows me, I don't dress like a soccer mom. I'm not a soccer mom. My kids don't play soccer. They're artsy fartsy LGBTQ kinds of people, right? So that's not me. The other one is the power suit, power pose. I can help, like the Wonder Woman pose with her hands on her hips or her arms are crossed and wearing her power suit. And that is also not me. And so I was like, I've got to have something that's really representative of me, but kind of silly and will catch people's attention. And so that's where the whole Badass Direct Sales Mastery, BDSM, let's have fun with this came from. So I've been telling you for 2 years, I want people to giggle and go, I have to listen to this. And then let's see, we are recording this conversation in January of 2022. In August of 2021, I got a notification on TikTok that somebody had tagged me in a video, and it was somebody that I didn't know. It was somebody that I wasn't following on TikTok. So I go and I watch this video.
Yeah.
And turns out this gal tags me because she says, hey, I'm out on my therapy right now. She goes for walks every day and she calls that her therapy, her workouts, right? And she goes, and I'm listening to my favorite podcaster, Jennie Bellinger.
Woo! Star.
Oh my God. I fangirled on my fangirling on me. Okay. We fangirled on each other in TikTok because I followed her, she followed me, and then we started messaging back and forth. And when I got her on a Zoom call to say, hey, I want to learn more about you. I want to learn more about your business. Tell me more about what's going on. How'd you find me? Doug, exactly what I told you I wanted people to do is how she found me. Her husband told her to go listen to Direct Sales Podcast to help her build her business. So she just typed in direct sales. My podcast art came up. Right. She snort laughed, clicked, and started following without even listening.
Yeah.
And then started listening, fell in love with it, and has been binging since mid-August of 2021. And she's now a client. So because she started listening, and that exact, like the thing that I said I wanted to happen, I wanted to universe, hello, universe, are you listening? I want more of that. I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, we all want more of that. It's a good ego stroke, and it does remind us to get confirmation, or it gives us confirmation for people out there in the world that they are listening to us and they appreciate us. So that's so good. So at the beginning of this, I asked you to give advice to the people that are newly starting in the podcasting space. I want to take it to the other side. You got somebody that's about to enter whatever coaching program that you could think that would be advantageous for them as a podcaster. They have 100 episodes under their belt and they're just not seeing the results. What advice do you give somebody that is, homegrown, and from the very beginning, they now got 100 episodes in and they're like, do I really want to continue with this? What do you say to them?
Be intentional, be open, and be willing to try new things, right? Because obviously what you're doing isn't working. So if you're looking into a coaching program to help you monetize your podcast, if that's what you're looking for, if assuming the results that somebody is saying they're not getting is money, they're not getting clients, they're not getting money, they're not getting whatever, be intentional. Know that you're looking for a specific result. Find someone who coaches to that outcome.
Right.
And then do what they say. Don't fight it. Even though one of the things I have this conversation with my clients all the time. You're hiring a coach, which means it's time for you to be coachable. I am sometimes going to ask you to do things, try things that feel unnatural, different, out of your comfort zone. Can we agree that you'll at least give these things a shot? Can we agree that you'll at least try it before you go, nope, not going to do that, right? Give it a shot, right? Because you're hiring me for a reason. My experience, my knowledge, so for those who are listening right now as a podcast host who may or may not be getting the results they want, if you're going to hire somebody to help you get those results, actually freaking do it. Do what the coach asks you to do, because there's a reason why that person is asking you to do it, because they know something you don't know. They've had results doing that thing. They've had other clients having results doing that thing. So do it.
Let's talk about success metrics for a second, because so many people rely just upon downloads as the sole number that they can use to determine if they're actually being successful at this. And I just had a conversation with somebody today that, he was sharing with me all of the numbers. They get about 100 downloads in the first 7 days. They probably get another 20 to 30 in the following 20, in the 23 days, for a total of a month. So 120 to 140 downloads per episode. And I said, that's awesome. What's your goal for podcasting? If the answer is more, it's just not a good goal. I want to get more downloads. Okay. Let's say that you have 20,000 people now listening to your show. What are you doing with them? Do you have a call to action? Do you have a specific lead magnet? No, my business really isn't tied into my podcast. I just kind of use it to share my message with the world. I'm like, that's awesome that you do that. But I don't know what your goal is. If you want more audience members, what would you do with them if you had them anyway? It's such an ego metric, downloads.
It is.
So what other metrics would you use to determine what would be considered successful in the world of podcasting?
I think it would have to do with rates and reviews. I mean, I know that sounds like another vanity metric, but if you're getting people to actually go rate and review what you're putting out there, it's a good way to gauge if you actually go and read what people are saying.
Yep.
To say, okay, what do they want more of? What are they liking? What was it that got someone to give you a 1-star review if you have one of those, right? And if they gave you the 1 star and it's something that you're like, oh, that's stupid. Okay, I can ignore that. Great. But if you don't have people rating and reviewing your show,
right,
that's not just about vanity metrics. It's you haven't gotten them to take the first very easiest step, which is to go rate and review. Now, there's only 2 platforms where that can be done. Three that I can think of off the top of my head: Apple, Spotify, and Audible. So when people ask me what they can do to help me with my podcast, I'm like, if you go listen and then rate and review on either Apple, Spotify, or Audible, or all three, that would be fantastic. Right. That would help me. And I ask my audience members every once in a while, hey, did you know? So for example, when Spotify announced that they were finally allowing people to rate and review, my next episode that was just me, I threw that in there, like, please go rate and review me on Spotify, because I have 0 reviews on Spotify.
Right.
So people are going to think that I suck if you guys don't tell other people how awesome I am. So please do that.
Or just think about it. If you're listening to this and you're a podcaster, think about this. I mean, you are a show, let's say that you're an experienced podcaster, you have 100 episodes under your belt and you have 4 reviews, and they're 5-star, which is great, but they're 4 reviews. So that means you haven't done one of two things. You haven't given your listening audience a call to action to do anything. Mm-hmm. Or if you have given them a call to action, it wasn't really clear. Because if you're an interview-based show and you're not having your guests review your show, you're missing a great opportunity to get ratings and reviews. I remember Jenny's just pointed to herself. Part of my strategy in 2017 and 2018, when we were fairly new in the podcasting space, about a year or two into it, was to actually make it a condition on coming on the show. Rate and review the show. Look, give me a 1-star review. I don't care, but give me a 1-star review and then ask to be on my show. Why the hell would you even want to be on a 1-star rated? So it kind of was a self-fulfilling prophecy when I said, give me a rating and review. The other metrics that I help people understand, which sometimes they don't think of, is keep in mind that that podcasting is slightly different than broadcasting, like radio. And so engagement is the key to a successful podcast. So conversion of audience members into clients, that certainly is a good metric. That's a great metric. Conversion of guests into clients, that's another great metric. Calls to action through your podcast that lead to a larger list. So what is the list expansion that you've done over the last year or two? That's another great metric that you could use. All of those things, the ratings and reviews, are certainly a great metrics that you can use. All of those things are ways to determine success that are outside of downloads. Again, I don't give a shit if you have 20 downloads if you are able to actually do something with those 20 people, build a Facebook group, have communication with them, building your email list, getting them to opt into other things other than just the podcast. That's great. And I know that that's one of those things that we are all learning. It's like, and I'm sure there's another 20 things that I don't even know that I'm learning every day about podcasting. Mm-hmm. So really advance this thing to the person that might have 1,000 episodes now, Jenny. And I know that although you're not on the same part of the path that they're on, you have a lot of wisdom that you've learned over the last several years, 120, 130 plus episodes. What's something that you would share with 1,000 episode experienced podcaster that is just trying to figure out, God, what's my next step with this podcast? What do you tell them?
Create your future by vision casting it. If they're trying to figure out where to go next, like, where do you want it to go next? I think it's really important to have an idea of where you're going with it. So I know that for my podcast, it's leading to the virtual summits. It's leading to a book that's going to be of the same name. It's already got a coaching program by the same name now, because it's all interlinked. It's all part of this whole marketing thing that I have going on with it, because I'm it was really interesting what got me to double down on the name and starting to do everything in Badass Direct Sales Mastery, because the name of my company is Level Up Coaching. It's something totally different and safe, because that's what I started with when I started my business, because I was like, that's safe, that's nice, that's whatever. And now I'm like, oh no. This whole badass thing, Badass Direct Sales Mastery, the direct sales Dom thing, it's attracting and repelling people. It's attracting all the right people to me who are like, oh my God, yeah. Because there are people who I know are listeners and go to all my summits, and they have yet to hire me as a coach. But I know it's coming down the pike. I know that they're going to get to the point where they're going to go, you know what? I've been listening to this chick for 2 years, and I gotta jump in. Like, now's the time. There's going to come a point where something is going to make that shift. And so, but all of that has come from me envisioning, where I want this all to go, where I want this all to show, how I want all of this to show up in my life, which includes being a speaker at direct sales conferences and conventions. I want to be the keynote speaker, the person who's in front of 10,000, 15, 30,000, if we ever get to the point where we can have that many people in one building ever again. But, 2,000, I don't care. My biggest audience I've ever talked to is 350 right now. So
there's no doubt in my mind that you have what it takes to be in front of those large audiences. And you certainly have the platform with your podcast to be able to, even through the guest to client strategy, put the right people in a position to be able to hire you that are, like the big producers of these events, so that you can get a chance to get in that spotlight.
Exactly. And it's all coming together through this envisioning process and using my podcast, because part of what I'm looking to do is get to the point where I've got a large enough audience, not for the vanity metric, but to where the companies can't ignore me anymore as someone who is an influencer in the industry, who's having an effect, a positive effect on the representatives, consultants, directors, who, whatever they call themselves for that particular company. If they all keep hearing, that their people are listening to my podcast, that they're in my coaching programs, that they're doing this, they're eventually going to go, oh, well, she wrote a book and she's got a podcast and she's got these online courses and she's got all of this, these virtual summits. And I'm getting to the point now where I do have a large enough audience. I do have enough influence that now I've got vendors who are in the direct sales space who are now approaching me to be on the show. They want to advertise and sponsor. They are looking to put me in front of their audience, which their audience includes 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 direct sales people who have purchased their product, their technology, their service, whatever it may be, because they want me to be the person who's training their audience how to use their technology, how to use it in their business, and me saying that I'm using it in my business. So why aren't you using it in yours if you want to be like the badass direct sales dom, So all of these things are coming together because of podcasting. And they're all things that I never would have envisioned 2.5 years ago before I started.
So it's interesting because that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you as we get, closer to the end of the interview, and we're coming to that spot. But I'm curious, share with me some of the hidden gifts that podcasting has been able to provide that or like when you first started podcasting, you would have said, from my podcast, how is that even possible?
Jack Canfield.
That's a good gift. So, so a VIP guest, very cool.
Yes, I was able to get to interview Jack Canfield, not because he was necessarily going to be on the podcast. He was on my very first virtual summit, which came because of the podcast, right? That I created because of the podcast, and I wanted my audience members to start raising their hand and saying, I listen. And now I'm going to come to this virtual summit. So I could now see their names in the participant, those who are showing up as attendees. So Jack Canfield was one of them. I have now interviewed 3 CEOs of either direct sales companies or companies that are adjacent to direct sales, who, so they're part of that. So, another gift of all of this has been the fact that I, have just been hired by the CEO of a company that is launching a direct sales division. Wow. And I am helping them build and grow their direct sales division in 2022.
Wow. Congratulations. That's very cool.
It came because I interviewed her on my podcast and then kept up the relationship. And so now this is this amazing, thing that had never occurred to me might happen, that I might actually get hired by a company to launch a direct sales division. But I'm extremely grateful because I know how many lives we're going to impact doing that.
Well, for me, also very similar to the business, that I wasn't really sure where the business was coming from, or even the direction that a new business like podcast production was going to actually take in my life. I was a customer service speaker, and I was, an NSA trained professional speaker. And I'm like, I'm not even in that arena anymore. I'm completely 100% in 180 degree direction from being a professional speaker. I'm actually a podcaster and use the podcast platform to share my message rather than the speaking platform at a conference. Give a plug for your show so people know how to get to you, where to find you. Again, remind everybody of the show name and any particular episode that you think would be a good starting point for them now that you're 130 plus in.
Oh, yeah. So the name of the podcast is Badass Direct Sales Mastery. So if you just type in Badass Direct Sales, you'll find me. I'm the only one who has that starting out as their podcast name, apparently. And it's a picture of me again in purple, wearing a purple corset. So you can't miss it. The episode I would recommend that people start with. Number 1. If you're going to start somewhere, start at the beginning. I think it was Mary Poppins said. Now, and the reason being is because if somebody's interested in learning all of this, it helps to know who I am and, my background and expertise in all of this. But if they don't want to go all the way back to the beginning, some of my top downloaded episode, my most downloaded episode is one that's entitled Sales is Not a 4-Letter Word. So that is my most downloaded episode by more than twice as many. When people hit that one, they download it, they share it with their friends. Lots of people have listened to just that episode because I know I just don't have that many listeners. So people are either listening multiple times or they're sharing it with their friends.
And I can tell you for sure that you really just need to listen to one episode of Jennie's show in order to figure out exactly who Jennie is and how she plays in this game. It's not, she is not a Broadway actress that is performing on her podcast. She is a real person presenting real content, and she does it. What's really cool is, and especially if you're in direct sales or have ever had a feeling of wanting to get into that business, she's interviewing people that are just like her, just like all of us that have ever thought about direct sales as a career or as a part-time, hustle. She's got real people on talking through real life situations, and she's not just throwing shit and figuring out what's supposed to stick. She's got her act together. So thank you for sharing all your amazing content. And thanks for not only being a part of the Turnkey team, but also being just a great spokesperson for the whole world of podcasting.
Oh, thank you. No, I love it. I'm sure you've heard me tell the story when Virginia drugged me to the very first New Media Summit, kicking and screaming because I was like, I am not going to start a freaking podcast. And she's like, fine, don't start one. Go get on a bunch of them. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. And, had I known then what I know now, I would have run there. I would have, but honestly, that was the very first one. That's where I met you. I still remember to this day sitting down at dinner next to you and just chatting with you. And I can't imagine that I'd be anywhere close to where I am now in my business without podcasting. So I'm a big proponent of it for people and have really steered quite a few people towards the direction of Turnkey. Cause I'm like, if you're going to do it right, get started with a Turnkey, either the DIY or the private launch process, because that's what I went through. And it's built my business in ways that I never in a million years thought was possible this quickly.
Totally agree. As the name implies, we are Turnkey. We try to do it no matter if it's DIY, our launch school group coaching, or our private coaching. It is definitely very cool. But a good starting place so you can hear how professional podcasting can actually work is, of course, not this show, but Jennie Bellinger's show, Badass Direct Sales Mastery. Thank you for being on the show, Jennie, so much.
Oh, thanks for having me, Doug. I absolutely love chatting with you.
For the nice guys on business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the nice guys. Why am I reading this copy? This sucks. Oh yeah, they're paying me. Act like you care. Act like you care.